Uh, Hello, everyone. It's lovely to see so many of you here already. My name is Umar Suhail. I am the product marketing manager at K15T. And today we are presenting you a webinar titled Practical Tips for Better ITSM Management, IT Service Management on Jira Service Management. Before we go a little bit into details on what the agenda is, we will like to introduce our star-studded panelists. First up is Stefan Müller. We are really delighted to have a guest speaker from Atlassian today. He is the Senior Enterprise Solutions Advocate for ITSM at Atlassian. He's been there for 1 year now, but he has experience of over 25 years in IT sales and customer advocacy roles for different companies across Germany. He's been very involved of late in the ending bad service management campaign for Atlassian, and in particular for GSM, obviously. So you'll get a hint of it very soon about his passion for the topic. And he's currently responsible for the go-to DACH market and winning new customers for GSM. Second in line for our speakers today is Matthias Kaiser. He is the technical product manager. He's my colleague at K15T. He has been at K15T for about 10 years now, and he was actually one of the key founders or key creators of Backbone Issue Sync for Jira. He's really passionate about making collaboration easy between teams. And besides, as a developer and product manager, he's also a Atlassian community leader. Last but not least, for sure, is Esther from META-INF. She has been at META-INF for 2 years. She is the marketing and events manager. META-INF, if you don't know, is a marketplace and solution partner based in Hungary. Esther loves working with customers and building relationships with them. She's a subject matter expert at ITSM. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting discussion today. So let's move on to a little bit of the agenda for today. So as I mentioned earlier, we will focus a little bit more about what is bad service management, why should we care about it, and this is where Stefan will share his expertise in why Atlassian really wants to dive a little bit deeper into the topic, and then how GSM helps this end this problem. Then we'll go into one particular problem caused by bad service management, that is silos within the teams or lack of collaboration within the teams. And that is where the meat of the webinar is, where we will give some practical tips and insights into how to resolve this issue. This includes a lot of native integrations with Atlassian tools, but also some marketplace application-based tips. So yeah, it's going to be a mixed bag for everyone in the audience. And afterwards, we will have a live Q&A session where you can ask one of our experts here about anything about bad service management or how any particular tip you want to elaborate on. And you can already start sending your questions as well in the Q&A panel using the Zoom Q&A panel, and we'll read it out at the end of the webinar. So yeah, that was the agenda. So I'll hand it over to Stefan here, where he'll elaborate a little bit more on why should we actually care about bad service management. So Stefan.
Yeah, thank you, Uma. Welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar for today. Yeah, and as we see it now here, why care about bad service management, or better, let us say, why should we care about end of bad service management? So for this, let's start with a short video introduction to our campaign End Bad Service Management. In this video, Scott Farquhar, one of our founders and co-CEOs himself, introduce you to what we see as the need and the idea behind this campaign, behind end of bad service management. So yeah, Uma, please proceed with the video so we can hear what Scott will introduce.
Here at Atlassian, we try to do our part in the fight against bad service management. BSM means delayed timelines, confused teammates, bloated budgets, and bad deployments. With Jira Service Management, our customers avoid all this terrible stuff. We actually get a lot of fan mail. From Darius. Before JSM, things were, let's say, challenging. Our timelines were slow, so slow that I actually developed a stress-induced rash which was so painful I screamed all day. BSM caused our team's budget to bloat so much that HR told me I was more valuable dead than alive. Before Jira, I spent 15 days in a cobalt mine. Even now, I remember the names of the powerful spiders in the creepy corner. With JSM, all my colleagues are so happy. Jason intentionally vomited on my car. I became paranoid that they were out to get me. So I bought rope, duct tape, and a large mallet, and then... I thought I was the Mongoose King and I needed some milkmaids. Well, those were some great and certainly vivid reminders of why we're launching a global movement to end BSM, which includes new incentives for teams of all sizes to switch to Jira Service Management. So here's to a much, much brighter future.
There's hope. If you or someone you know is suffering from BSM, contact us at www.nbsmnow.com.
Okay, yeah. Admittedly, he takes the situation described for a bit of a ride, but in the end, you can also look at the one or the other serious situation with a bit of humor. Bad service management happens when dev, IT, and business teams works in silos, making it impossible to deliver great service experience. No matter, you need to do it for your own employees and or your customer and partners. A good example is here our customer Lufthansa Technik. You can find the story on our homepage and also on YouTube. But one sentence from the head of IT, Wesley Morris, was an interesting feedback because he mentioned, since implementing Jira Service Management, our satisfaction rating is averaging something around 4.9 to 5.0, coming from something around 3.0. So what does he say? A great service experience is the base for solving the problems Scott mentioned right out in the beginning of his video. So the use of many different tools for service management in many places leads to bloated budget, where we often see an overspending of bulky, bloated, and confusing solutions, and at least the costs keep going up to with only a little or no added value, at least. So spending a lot of money, time, and resources does not have the effect and the impact it should have. Then the second, painful onboardings. What means deploying and expanding to new teams and is almost too complicated. There is a typical old-fashioned way of resolution in place that prevents a better service management instead of using our up-to-date Jira Service Management, where you are able to create your own workflow with low-code, no-code capabilities, a deep or also a deep integrated automation, and many more. Then the third one is sluggish timeline. The challenge here is respond to changes and incidents at a high velocity. What should take minutes or in max hours at least takes mostly days or even weeks. So we often see here the solution earliest when the situation has changed again, and the provided solution does not solve the issue. So the typical spinning in a circle that's without the light at the end of a tunnel starts then from this point up. And then the fourth one is an irritable situation with teammates. There is a big need for a better collaboration. I'm sure you often see this typical finger pointing between dev and ops teams, leading to worsening performance. Each accuses the other of being responsible for the problem instead of working together, instead of working simultaneously with the same level of knowledge to solve the problem. Development, operations, and business teams like HR, facility management, finance, and many more of your organization can work better together on an agile way. That's what we see at the moment as a challenge. So what's the solution, or better, why is Jira, or why can Jira Service Management be the right solution? Jira Service Management was developed to support this fight against poor service management. That's what Scott mentioned in his messages. At least you need to reach a healthier budgeting. So this starts with stop silos, stop media breaks, stop costs for different infrastructure or different service management solutions, stop the lack of inconsistent and up-to-date data, et cetera, so many topics where you need to care about. With the right service management solution, you can stop overspending on bulky, bloated, and confusing solutions. The use of one single platform like our One Atlassian, based on collaboration, connection, analytics, automation, and at least also administration. And on top, then our solutions for service management, but also for Agile and DevOps and work management is the basis to save these budgets. Next one is faster resolution. Think about what if your HR department could start the whole onboarding process of a new employee with only one ticket. And with this one ticket, a collaboration with all related departments will start automatically. Operations gets the ticket with the right information, what kind of laptop, what kind of hardware will be necessary, and with which user rights and with which software is needed. Facility management gets a ticket also automatically, which staff pass will be necessary, and with which access authorizations and requirements for setting up a completely workstation for this new employer. And finance will get automatically the bank account information, the tax and social insurance information. And on top, you can all monitor these different tickets up from this or automated from this first one with one view. And by the way, this solves then also this easier deployment. So you will get new teams and services up and running, but also, and that's the last point, a better collaboration. So there's a better collaboration between your IT and operations and the other business teams. They can work together on one single platform with Jira Service Management on top. So only theoretical informations I got you before, but Forrester made a research about the economic impact of using Jira Service Management. And in this research, they saw that 61% improvement in ticketing handling was solved by using Jira Service Management instead of a back and forth communication or silent information between the requesters, the support staff, and all the others which are related to these tickets are now able to receive sufficient information within the submitted tickets to resolve at least an incident and infrastructure request faster and in a totally different situation. And with this, the support staff not only gained 60% improvement in productivity, but they were also able to meet their service level agreements and their service level goals in 85% and above of this time. 150 saved hours per month for IT operations teams is also a number which was a result of this research. So the improved service request process has not only increased user certification, but also increased user productivity through the self-service features available in the user portal, self-service features available in Jira Service Management. So this saves user time in answering their questions or allows them to submit a service request much faster. On average, an employee saves 30 minutes per quarter on service requests. So with this number, it's an easy calculation for you to make this calculation what you can solve in your organization. Then at least 20% ticket deflection due to self-service capabilities, as I mentioned before, improved efficiency gained by service teams such as IT, HR, and finance services agents due to the improved speed of service requests and the reduction in ticket volume enabled by their self-service capability of Jira Service Management. And at least then integrations of Atlassian's Confluence, our collaboration software, and as a knowledge base, users are able to make users are able to more and easily find answers to their questions from the library of knowledge-based articles, guidance and FAQs without filling a service request. So they will be able to solve their problems by themselves if there is a right article in place.
Super. Thank you so much, Stefan, for your valuable insights. A really nice introduction and to build the context for the rest of the webinar. Before we go into the practical tips on ending silos within the teams and ending bad service management, we'd like to hear more from you on what do you think about the problems caused by bad service management? And so the question is, what is the biggest problem caused by bad service management for your organization? Stefan has mentioned a couple of things there. So unnecessary costs, hard to get started, it's slow pace of work, poor team collaboration, or maybe there's something else as well there. We'll love to hear more about it. And if there's something else, then please leave a comment below, and I'd like to read that out as well. And this will help us in a way that, okay, this right now, the rest of the webinar will focus on the team silos and ending that problem of poor team collaboration. But maybe in the future, if people think that there are some other aspects that need more focus, then we can also maybe continue building valuable content for you in that regard. We'll take maybe 5 more seconds. The needles are still moving, but okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we'll end the poll, share the results. And yeah, as we suspected, there's a majority, or 50% at least, say that the poor team collaboration, or in other words, silos between teams, is the main culprit. Slow pace of work can also be a problem, and then it's harder to get started and get everybody on board as well. So yeah, I think people who have selected this option are in the right webinar now, because we will move on to this resolving, giving some insights into this problem. As I said, silos within the teams, we think that is one of the biggest problems caused by bad service management. When teams work haphazardly, they don't really share information with each other. And so usually it's within teams that have the same goals, but they do not know that this is a problem, or even when they do realize that they are not communicating with each other, then it's kind of, they don't know where to go, who to turn to for the best practices and guidance. What's the solution? Streamlining, as Stefan also mentioned, streamlining all your tools into one toolkit like Atlassian. That's obviously the first step. And then implementation of those tools, so integrating them in a way that works for your use case. That is also part of it, a big part of it. And obviously, it's easier said than done. And that is why we have my colleagues now, Matthias and Esther, who will go into a little bit more practical side on how to integrate all these tools together.
Yeah, over to the more practical side of like, how can you reduce silos between teams? We grouped our tips in 4 categories, I would say. First of all, documentation. How can your support agents contribute to better documentation? How can they work closer together to improve the documentation? For the products, how can feedback from JSM better be connected to the actual product development? So how can these teams work closer together? Moreover, like more specific, maybe as a product team, like the development team, how can the communication between developers and support agents be improved? If it's about an important bug report, maybe which needs to get out fast. Or in the customer success area, then how can we ensure that customer success has an overview of all the communication going on with a certain customer at the moment? Or how can we improve the communication between customer and us in general? How can it be more integrated? We'll have a look at these various approaches. We really concentrated on ending silos with our tips. There are a lot of other tips you could give us maybe as well, and we could give you still, but now it's all about ending silos. Talking about documentation. Have you worked in support before and had this experience that you were able to answer a support request with one of your help articles? You thought, there's a help article somewhere, you look it up, and then maybe there's like slightly outdated information, or you think, it could need some more sentences to really fit to the customer. I think it's really key that your agents have access to the help articles, that they can at least comment on the article to just say, oh, this needs some more details. Maybe we should explain how to create new projects, or so that they can contribute to the documentation. Maybe they can even edit it themselves and they can just publish it and go ahead. But if you enable your agents, really, that's quite simple, you could say, but it has a lot of value already to your documentation and therefore to your users in the end as well. That's a slight tip about documentation, about product, tearing down walls between product and customer success. How does your support actually communicate with the product team? Are they part of it, maybe one managed team, or how do you make that valuable feedback from your customers really visible for the product team so that they can come up with new feature requests which are actually fitting to the customer demand? How can they use that knowledge for better decisions? I have 2 tips for you in this section. One thing is that they can actually link the support requests with the Jira tickets. Like our support team uses the standard Jira issue links from a support ticket to the actual feature requests, which is quite key, I would say, because then you can also see how many requests actually wanted to get this feature, how many support tickets do we have around this. And even more, you can go into detail then when you're in this product, or feature request, like in the feature design phase, how can you then actually, what's the actual requirement by the various customers? You could still dig deep into that and maybe also ask another customer for feedback to say, oh, I have a concept now. How does that look to you? Does it actually match what you wanted to? And if you want to take it a little step further, you could also just create an automation in the background. So your customer support agents don't need to remember to add this issue link, but every time they share an issue in a comment, they could just simply the automation runs in the background and adds this link to the issue as an issue link. Another idea is also around some automation. Like some of our teams actually use Trello for product discovery or ideas in an early stage so that they can just have these various columns you can see here as well. And how can you make it easy that your support agents can also add features into this? And like Stefan said it, it's without switching the tools, staying in your context and not needing to remember where the Trello board was and needing to navigate there. So in order to support this use case, we also added an automation here, which basically just checks if a comment has a certain phrase in it. In our case, it's PRCon as a phrase, and like if this phrase is contained, the Trello this automation will actually send an email to the email address of the Trello board. Every Trello board can have an email address, so it's really easy to integrate there without a big hassle to set up some authentication and whatever there is. So it's really easy to set this rule up to let that feedback flow into the product team. Talking more specifically about product teams, you could say, talking more about like development teams. How can you tie this together, like so that they're closer together and less walls in between? I guess it can happen that your agents find an error, which the more technical people need to have a look at. So your third level support team, if they're working on the same Jira instance, maybe it works that they simply collaborate in the same JSM project. You can like involve the developers directly in there, and they can leave their investigation comments in there. However, if they're working, for example, in other Jira instances, maybe you have an internal one and a customer-facing public one for your JSM, or you have a subcontractor working on the more technical topics, this communication can get quite tricky. So that's where actually our app Backbone Issue Sync comes in. You can make it easy again by synchronizing all the JSM tickets which need third level assistance to the Jira software of your development team. Using Backbone, your support agents can then work on their support tickets. They can simply escalate the ticket with a click of a button or adding some metadata to it. And based on the rules you've configured in Backbone, it will then detect, oh, this ticket needs to be updated and synchronized over to the other Jira instance. And everything is in there. So your development team can work on it, perform investigations, comment on the ticket without worrying about some other instance they need to use, and without worrying about revealing too much information to the customer. Your support agent can concentrate on really getting all the technical information from the development team and then translating this into an understandable language for your customer, which might need some translation here and there. The last category already is the customer success category. So JSM is the main tool for our support team, and I believe for many of yours as well. Which tips and tricks can lead to more transparency in customer success and allow a tighter integration there with customers? Imagine you're working as a customer success specialist. You're asking one of your big customers for a review, and you get a bad one because he's currently experiencing problems with your solution. That's probably not what you'd like to hear. Wouldn't it be great if there's an easy way to get an overview of the current support ticket situation? You might know about this feature from JSM that you can group single customers or persons into organizations. So that's possibly what you could use in order to like group these into organizations, and you can always like have a view of all the tickets of the organization before you do that. We actually chose a slightly different approach because like if we group it like that, then always like every customer can view all the tickets of the organization, and we are not that sure if that's fully what our customers want for our product support. So we actually opted for another mechanism. We have an automation which just extracts the email domain from the reporter's email address and sets it into a specific customer field. So it takes, for my address, matthias@k15t.com, extracts the k15t.com, and it has a special like field now in our Jira, and now we can basically use all the Jira's filter mechanisms to group tickets around this domain. So we can say all tickets for k15t.com, I could view it in Jira, or I could also view it in Confluence, where we actually have like for every company where we have like a closer integration with or more contact, we'll set up such a CRM page, you can say, and then in there we can see the whole state of all the tickets and of all the communication which is going on for the customer. And so it's easy every time I want to contact a customer, I can first have a look at this page and see, okay, there's a pending support ticket. I might want to check on this first and maybe still contact the customer, but having the whole picture in the background. Another scenario is like if you work with bigger customers in long-lasting support projects, they often want to have a deeper integration and better visibility of all the open support projects with you, all the open support issues. So why not building a synchronization between their system and yours? Our app backbone issue sync enables a tight integration between your JSM project and a customer project, so that your customers can work on their system. They can just like have a long backlog of all their issues, maybe also with other vendors, but they have the overview on their side, and it will just sync over to your JSM portal, and you can then work in yours, and you have all the overview of your systems, and you don't need to work in some other system as well. So both sides can actually see and manage all the work in their context. A variation of this is that, like, it might be that your customer is requesting you to actually work on their system. So you should like somehow document it there, which is okay, fine for one customer. But what happens if there's another customer and another and another? I think somehow it's getting quite distracting for your agents to like work on that many systems. So you could actually also use backbone issue sync here again to like synchronize all the different JSM portals to your main JSM system. And it's still, again, is like all the customer data is also like in their system and in their context, but also your agents have the good overview centrally so that they can provide actually the best possible support for all the various customers. These were the tips I contributed to here, but I hand it over to Esther, who's like giving us some more tips about the communication methods. Go for it, Esther.
Hey, Matthias, and hi everyone. It's really nice to be here, and I'm very, very happy to be with K15T and Atlassian. So I'm just here to share one tip. So usually, I mean, let's say that you already use JSM. I think, as Matthias said, many of you already does. And also you have your customers who doesn't always like to log into, you know, your customer portal to raise a ticket or anything like that. I mean, research says that still people really like to use their emails to raise tickets, or like not raise tickets because they usually don't know that they are raising tickets, but you know, like to say a problem with your product or just contact your customer support team. There is a core functionality for that in JSM, but also if it's not enough for your use case, you can use our app, META-INF for Jira, and it can streamline your communication between your support team and your customers. So your customers can stay in there within their emails, but your support team can stay within JSM. And within JSM, with just a few clicks, you can create emails based on, you know, all the custom fields and information within a ticket and send out via email just the way you want it, customize it, etc. I want to say two more things. It's just you can actually execute rules based on the extracted content from the incoming emails using regular expressions. And also, if you have multiple emails that you are using with, you know, when you're communicating with your customers, with this issue, you can actually have all of those email addresses in just one project. So all of the incoming emails go to one project. So it's a bit of a saying that we are talking about ending silos, but maybe it doesn't always mean that you have to use just one product. It can mean that all of your customers and support team can use their preferred methods, but you just have to find the right apps on the Atlassian marketplace to help out, like Backbone and like META-INF, and there are many, many more. So I'm handing it back to Matthias.
Okay, yeah, I can maybe take over a little bit. Yeah, thank you very much, Matthias and Esther, for these awesome tips. And before we move on to the last parts of the Q&A session, we'd like to know a little bit more about what you think from the mixed bag, as I said, of solutions that we mentioned. So which method would you like to explore further to connect Atlassian tools with each other? Is it just connecting different Atlassian tools, such as Trello with JSM or some other Atlassian tools with each other? Is it some other automations that you'd like to build, or it could be one of the two-way sync apps that we mentioned. So backbone issue sync could be another integration platform like email this issue. Maybe some other solution as well that could be there. We'd like to hear more about it if you have some ideas as well. There are still some people answering, so I will wait for a bit, but okay, yeah, let's just end the poll and share the results. So a lot of people have opted for native integration possibilities, which also makes sense because it's doesn't you don't need to spend maybe extra on stuff, and it's a little bit more easier and more streamlined. Building an automation is always an option. About 22% people said that, but it's obviously you need a subject matter expert to build that and maintain that. And there are some people who are actually interested in the two-way sync app as well, which makes a lot of sense as well. So then we'll open the floor for some questions, whether it's about Jira Service Management in general or any particular tip and trick that we mentioned and you'd like to learn more about it or like to learn more resources on it, then the floor is yours. We'll look into the Q&A. Okay. There was a question earlier that I saw that if we need to install like backbone on both sides, or do we need to, so if we want to integrate Jira Service Management with Jira, do we need to install on both sides or just on one side? Matze, what's this?
Happy to answer that. Yeah, like by default, yes, that's the case that you need to install backbone on both sides, but there's also a possibility to like work around this with like we have something which is called a remote license. So if you like want to connect to another system, which is like where you can't install backbone for some reason, you can still connect to this with a remote license. This is currently only possible for data center to something like server data center to some other instance, but we will also add support for cloud to some other instance as well in the near future.
Right. There's a question. They want to know how Jira Service Management works for MSP. I'm not sure what MSP stands for here. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit, Sandeep, on what MSP stands for, and then we can maybe ask Stefan about it. Okay, so managed service provider. Okay, Stefan, do you?
Okay, yeah, that's a kind of service which we are working on. So if your partner with the right information is eligible for such a managed service, then they can provide you this. Normally, it's a situation that we providing you then the necessary service via partner, and you can use the licenses for your own.
Okay, nice.
But we are working on a program that we can deliver also managed services, including all what is needed from a license and software perspective.
Thank you very much. There was an open question as well that if somebody has to convince one of their managers, or they have to think about which one of these different types of solutions that we mentioned here, so native integration or different applications, and then what should be the priority in that case when you're looking for, like, so should we directly go for that like the applications, or should we go look into native integrations first? Is there a priority list or something? Maybe one of you.
I'm not sure if I fully got the picture, but I would say try out, like you can have like always a free JSM trial instance. You can just go ahead, like in the cloud, create one, try out how it works for you with the out of the box features in there. And if that's not enough, they can already do a lot of stuff also with automations. If you want to integrate something and automate some parts, if that's not enough, all the marketplace apps also have free trials. So if you want to explore the email list issue parts with the different channels or the backbone syncing part, that's what you can just go for trial. And if you need some more advice, just also ask in the Atlassian online community, for example, or a solution partner of your choice. There are many ways, but I think just reach out actively and then you'll get the answer, I assume.
Mm. Okay. I don't think there are any more questions coming in. Then in that case, I will wrap it up. Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to all our panelists as well. It was a really lovely session, and feel free to reach out to us anytime. We will be sending out an email as well. So just reply to it or check out the resource that we'll be sending out. And until next time, I'll say goodbye and take care.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.